Hello, house churches, and welcome to the week of September 24. This is an up week, and it's the last week in our sermon series called Treasure. This is our series about money, and the big statement, the big truth coming out of this series is that when we talk about money, it's not just a money issue, it's actually a heart issue. And what's going on in our heart is the important place that we need to pay attention. This is the last Sunday in this series, and we're talking about investment. And I have very little experience with investment, but the experience that I do have, I've learned one thing pretty crucial. That I always could have bought more sooner, and I could have sold more sooner. If I had done that, I would have made way more money, or not lost any. My experience with investment is that I could have, I should have, and if I had known better, I would have. We can live with investment in a heart space where we feel disappointment. We can live even with investment into people in a heart space where we feel and know disappointment. I invest in people, and I hope for them to do well with my investment of what time or effort. And then I can get disappointed if it seems that they don't live up to what I was trying to invest into them. We can get disappointed in our investments, whether it's investments in money or investments in people. The text that we're looking at this week is Luke chapter 14, verses 25 to 35. And I think this text really speaks to our heart matters, to the issues in our heart, especially around money and investment, but also around people and the ways that we invest in people as well. My question coming out of this text is what's happening here? What's Jesus saying? Because it seems like he's very demanding. He says to us that you need to hate mother and father. You need to hate your children, your brothers and your sisters, your friends. He says you need to hate all of your possessions. You need to say farewell to them, to give them all up in order to follow him well. This kind of demanding from Jesus seems really counter to what I'm hearing from most of our society. When we talk about Jesus, we talk about a nice, friendly guy who wants to bless you. This is a Jesus who sounds stern and demanding. So I'm wondering how to read this text as my question mark. The light bulb came on for me as I started to pay attention to what's happening around this text in particular. And as I look to what happened just before this text, Jesus is speaking to the Pharisees, to the leaders of the Jewish people. And he's saying that the people who were invited to the great banquet of God seemed too busy. They didn't really want to come to the banquet. And Jesus is, of course, the host of that banquet. And so as the host of the banquet, Jesus says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get my hall, my castle filled with people, and I'm going to fill up my banquet with all the people, the rabble from the street, the people who kind of weren't obviously invited. I'm going to make sure that they all come in. And then after this chapter, this section that we read in chapter 14, after that, Luke tells us that the tax collectors and the sinners were coming to Jesus, kind of the lowly of the culture. The people you wouldn't expect would be coming to the righteous meeting, the righteous banquet with Jesus. So whatever Jesus did, whatever he's saying about you have to hate father and mother, you have to give up everything you have in order to follow me, whatever he's saying there is good news to these people so that they follow him and they love him, even though the Pharisees don't. So this is my light bulb, and I wanted to pay attention to that. How is this text good news to us? And I think it's good news because Jesus recognizes that we are actually enslaved to all of our possessions and even to the people around us unless our primary allegiance is to him. Our primary allegiance needs to be to Jesus, or these other things and people can become our idols. And so what he's calling us to is to live with a level of detachment from our money and even from the people that we invest in. And what I'm calling this is kind of an ancient term called holy indifference. It's a way of treating people and money, not in an indifference that says, I don't care what happens to you, but a holy indifference that says, I'm investing in you in the ways that God is asking me to do. I am faithfully investing in you, but I'm not tied to the results. The results belong to Jesus. So it's actually Jesus's investment. It's God's investment. But I am going to faithfully give into people and money investments in the way that I am called to. And that faithful investment, the results are God's, the results are up to him. The arrow coming out of this is for me to pay attention in my life where I am so tied to the results of what I do that I am so bound up into them, that I am holding them tightly and controlled to them, that actually they are controlling me. They are holding me hostage. Jesus is saying, I can give that up. I don't need to hold on to it so tightly. He's the one who's responsible for all the work that I do, all the investments that I make. He's the one who's responsible for the outcomes. So I can faithfully give into people and give into investments in so many different ways, trusting that He has the outcome in His hands. May God's grace and peace be with you as you seek in your lives to see where you are clinging too tightly and where you need to give up, say farewell to the places in your life where you would like to be God, and let God be God of those places. Peace be with you. Amen.